The Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights are set to do battle in the Western Conference Final. In today's video, we're going to preview the series, tell you what to expect, and I'll give you my predictions. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So the Western Conference Final is about to begin this evening. So as I mentioned off the top, today we're going to do a preview and prediction video. We're going to go through each team here, give you my analysis and comparison on what to expect. And I'll give you my thoughts and predictions on who I think is going to win and how it's going to go down in my opinion. So first of all, both of these teams are having a tremendous playoff. Obviously, we're into the third round. So we've had the Vegas Golden Knights defeat the LA Kings as well as the San Jose Sharks. And the Winnipeg Jets have defeated a Minnesota Wild team as well as a very tough Nashville Predator team. It's taken the Jets a couple of extra games to get here so far. Obviously, they had a 5-game series and a 7-game series, whereas the Vegas Golden Knights had a 4-game sweep over the Kings and a 6-game series win over the Sharks. So the Jets have played 2 more games and they've just finished up against the Predators, so they've had a lot less time to rest and recover, whereas the Vegas Golden Knights, since they got it done a little bit quicker, they've had some time to rest and recuperate, and certainly we'll see if that plays a role in this series or not. Obviously, sometimes it can go either way. We've seen teams with too much layoff time end up with a little bit of rust and end up with slow starts to their game, and other times it can go the opposite way, where you have when you're riding momentum and you're high on a win. Sometimes it's best just to keep playing, run on adrenaline, you can keep getting the job done. So hard to say how this is going to go. Thankfully for Winnipeg, after their big Game 7 win in Nashville, they're able to fly home and stay there since they're going to be the team with home ice advantage in this series. So Vegas has now arrived in Winnipeg and they're all set to do battle this evening in Game 1. So I think there's a lot of things about this that should make it a very fun series to watch. It should be close. I don't expect either team to really run away with it or blow the other team out. I'd be quite shocked if that happened at all, and I can certainly see it going into a longer series, being possibly 6 or 7 games, because I think there's a lot of ways these teams are very closely matched up. So let's take a look here at their playoff record so far. As I mentioned, the Jets have played 2 extra games. So they have a 12-game playoff record with 8 wins, 4 losses, whereas the Vegas Golden Knights have only had 10 games. They've got their series wrapped up a little faster, so in 10 games, obviously, they have 8 wins as well and only 2 losses. So let's take a look at their offense and defense thus far in the playoffs. The Winnipeg Jets are averaging 3.6 goals for per game, and they're allowing 2.3, so that's a pretty decent ratio. The Vegas Golden Knights are scoring at a 2.9 goals for per pace per game, and they're allowing only 1.7. So obviously the Vegas Golden Knights really have been pretty stingy, largely due to the fantastic play of goalie Marc-Andre Fleury. Their defense has played pretty well as well, but I think really Marc-Andre Fleury is by far the biggest reason that the Golden Knights are where they are. His tremendous play has really allowed them to kind of relax out there, and any opportunities that they have given up, he's shut the door more often than not and allowed them to come away with victories. Safe to say so far in these playoffs, based on these statistics, that the Vegas Golden Knights have certainly given up less than the Jets have, so they've been probably, you could argue, the better defensive team. But like I said, I think that's largely due to their goalie, not so much team play. And you could say the Jets have been the more offensive team, scoring at a higher clip per game as well. So this should have different worlds colliding here. We'll have the big offense from the Winnipeg Jets against the top goaltending of Marc-Andre Fleury and a decent team defense as well from the Knights. So it should be a good matchup for sure, and it'll be interesting to see if either of these stats sway. So can the Jets keep up their scoring at the pace they are against the stingy Knights? And can the Knights pick up their scoring pace against the Jets as well? Because they're going to have to score a little bit more, I think, than they did in the past to have a chance in this series. They were able to get by. They were giving up so little to the Sharks and the Kings that they didn't have to score a ton to get the wins and get the series victories. But this Winnipeg team is way more offensive. It's a whole different beast here. So I think even though Fleury should play well, he more than likely is going to give up more than he has in the past. Doesn't mean he can't get it done, but it's going to be a tougher challenge, and therefore they're going to have to score at a higher pace, I think, to come out victorious in this series. So now let's break this down by position. Let's compare Marc-Andre Fleury and Connor Hellebuyck. So Marc-Andre Fleury has an 8-2 record in these playoffs. As we discussed, him and Hellebuyck have played every game for their team, so their team records and goalie records will be the same. Marc-Andre Fleury has an amazing .951 save percentage and a very stingy 1.53 goals against average with 4 shutouts in there. So Fleury has been absolutely amazing. And he, like I said, in my opinion, he's the main reason why they are where they are. Definitely the team's MVP so far in the playoffs. Connor Hellebuyck hasn't been any slouch, mind you. He has an 8-4 record, a .927 save percentage, which is second best here amongst the goalies remaining. Still pretty solid. And a 2.25 goals against average, and he's pitched 2 shutouts himself. So Hellebuyck, no slouch at all. He's been tremendous, especially those last couple of games where the Jets had to wrap it up against the Predators. He really, especially Game 7, I thought he played especially well. But overall, throughout the whole playoffs, you have to give the edge to Fleury. I think he's had the better body of work throughout the playoffs so far. But Hellebuyck's no slouch. So really, but if I had to give an edge, I'm going to have to say Vegas in this one. But like I said, Winnipeg's in good standing, good position as well. So edge, the Golden Knights. Now moving on, let's talk about the defense for each club and do a comparison here. Now I think you can argue after you see these stats that the Vegas Golden Knights D has played pretty decently. But like I said, I think Fleury deserves more of the credit than the D-Corps does myself. And you're going to see here, based on these stats as well, that the Winnipeg Jets defense is probably, I think, been a little stronger, and especially when it comes to moving the puck and generating offense. So let's do a comparison here. Now the Winnipeg Jets top defender right now is Dustin Byfuglien. He's playing 26 minutes per game, and he has generated 13 points in 12 games and is a +6. So Big Buff has been tremendous for the Jets back there, producing a lot of offense, throwing some big hits when needed, and logging a lot of minutes and looking really good. Byfuglien's also been very disciplined. He's picking a few penalties, but for the most part, he's been able to keep his temper in check and hasn't been too crazy out there. Sometimes Buff can get a little overzealous and take some bad penalties, but so far he's been pretty good at that. So Byfuglien has been huge for the Jets. Tyler Myers, he had missed a game with injury, but he has 5 points in 11 games, including a big goal against the Predators in Game 7. He's +7 and logging just over 20 minutes per game. Jacob Trouba hasn't produced a lot of offense, but he's got 3 points in 12 games. He's a +8, logging over 22 minutes per game. Josh Morrissey's been tremendous, more on the defensive side than the physical side. Only has 1 point, but he's a +6, and he's playing 20 minutes per game as well. Almost 21, about 20 minutes and a half. Ben Sherratt, 2 points in 12 games. He's a +3, logging just shy of 16 minutes per game. And Toby Enstrom hasn't played as much because he missed part of the first round due to injury, but he's played 7 games now, hasn't produced any offense, and he's a -2, playing 17 minutes per game. So the top 4 for the Jets are really super important. Sherratt and Enstrom haven't been quite as instrumental on the offensive side, and Toby Enstrom, since he's returned, has struggled a little bit, but those other 4 to 5 guys have been tremendous for Winnipeg. So as a D-Corps, they're produced so far in 12 games, they put up 24 points, so they're generating at least 2 points per game from the back end, which is pretty solid. Now if you take a look at Vegas, Nate Schmidt's been their top defender, playing 25.5 minutes per game. He's produced so far 5 points in 10 games, and he's a +6, so pretty solid there. Shea Theodore also has 5 points in 10 games. He's a +4, playing a little bit less at 22.5. Colin Miller, 3 points in 10 games. He's a +3, playing just a little over 20 minutes per game. Braden McNabb has 2 points in 10 games, +3, playing 23 minutes. Derek England and John Merrill, neither one of them have produced any points yet. They're both off the score sheet, and both are a +2, with England playing a larger role, 23 minutes, and Merrill playing 15 minutes and 44-second average. So John Merrill is probably the weakest link on that D-Corps. Hasn't been the greatest. He hasn't been terrible, but he's had his moments in these playoffs where it hasn't looked as good. But they're top 4, or really top 5, really. But most of the offense comes from the top 4 guys. But like I said, there hasn't been as much offense coming from the back end. As a group, they've produced 15 points in 10 games, which is an average of 1.5 points. So the Jets have the edge. If you take a look at the plus-minus ratings, they've been producing more offense, have a better plus-minus rating. So overall, I think the Jets D has been playing a bigger role in the team's success than the Vegas Golden Knights D-Corps. Not to take anything away from them, they're a pretty solid defense score. Nate Schmidt and Shea Theodore especially have been tremendous for Vegas. But I think that it's a case where their D-Corps might look stronger because of the strong play of Marc-Andre Fleury. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Vegas' defense. They are good, but it's no different than in past years when a lot of the Montreal Canadiens defenders got a little bit more praise than they deserved because Carey Price was always bailing them out. Carey Price comes off his game, has a bad game, bad season, bad whatever. All of a sudden that exposes some weaknesses there, and all of a sudden you can see a little bit more, and it's a little bit more obvious that maybe their goaltending was masking some weaknesses, which is fine. It happens to the best of teams. Goaltending plays a huge role here, but if Marc-Andre Fleury struggles at all or has a bad game, that's going to be trouble for Vegas. That's what I'm trying to point out here. Is I think their decor is good, but it looks better than what it is because of Fleury. So if Fleury slips at all, then I might expose some weaknesses. So we'll see how that goes. If Fleury can keep it up though, the Winnipeg Jets are going to have a tough time. But because of that, I'm giving the edge in D to the Winnipeg Jets. Let's take a look at the top 6 forwards for the Jets against the Golden Knights. I'd like to take a look at what they've been producing for offense and what they've been providing for their teams and see who has the edge in that category. Let's start with Vegas. Obviously their top line, Jonathan Marchessault, Riley Smith, and William Karlsson. Smith and Marchessault each have 11 points. Karlsson has 10. The next group of top 6 forwards, James Neal, David Perron, Alex Tuch, they all have 7 points each. So they've been producing some decent amount of offense for the Golden Knights. However, like I mentioned before, they haven't had to produce a ton of offense to be successful because Marc-Andre Fleury has been so stingy in the net. So I do think that that is going to have to increase for the Vegas Golden Knights. They have a chance here to win against Winnipeg. The Winnipeg Jets have proven so far to be more of the offensive juggernaut in this playoffs compared to Vegas. So like I said, not only will that make it more challenging on Fleury to keep up his play, but realistically, he should probably allow a little bit more than he has at other teams because it's going to be a tougher challenge, which means Vegas will have to score more to keep up. So let's take a look at Winnipeg. The Winnipeg Jets' top 6 forwards right now are Mark Scheifele, who has 16 points. Blake Wheeler has 15 points. Kyle Connor has 8. He started, but even though he has 8 points, he started really slow. In the last 2 to 3 games, has really picked it up. So that's a little bit deceiving. But you know, he was a 30-goal rookie scorer this year in the NHL. So I think he can do better, and if he can keep up his play, that should improve. But so far, he did have a slow start. Patrick Laine has 10 points. Another guy you need and expect more from. He hasn't been completely quiet, but you'd expect that. You would certainly expect Patrick Laine to be putting the puck in the net a little bit more often. Paul Stassi's been huge for Winnipeg, has 14 points. What a tremendous pickup he proved to be at the deadline. And Nikolai Ehlers' slow start, 6 points. He's going to have to break out as well. He's going to be a key player for Winnipeg in this round. They need more out of Ehlers as well. So Stastny plays with Laine and Ehlers, and it's amazing how Stassi's been doing so well. But Laine and Ehlers, the Laine's done okay. Ehlers, like, they haven't played badly. They're just not getting as much done offensively. But Stassi's taken a lot of advantage too of his time on special teams. They've double shifted him a little bit as well from time to time. So we'll see how that goes. But Winnipeg as a group has produced 69 points in 12 games with those top 6 guys with a .575 average per game. So their forwards right now are outscoring the Vegas Golden Knights forwards. I would give the edge in forwards right now to Winnipeg because they've been producing a lot more offense. And Winnipeg they're a fast team. They're a big team as well. The Golden Knights are certainly no slouch when it comes to speed. They can certainly keep up as well. But I think the Jets are a little bit better combination of size and speed. So we'll see. I think Vegas is going to have their hands full here. But I think it's going to be a tight series. But I am giving the edge in the forward group, as I said, to Winnipeg. So Winnipeg, I think, has the edge right now in how their D and forwards are playing. But I think Vegas has the edge in goal. Therefore, that should make things very interesting. Sometimes when you have a really strong offense against a really good defense, you just don't know how that's going to go. Can the defense shut down the offense, or can the offense overpower them? The answer to that question will more than likely determine who wins this series. But I think Marc-Andre Fleury is going to have a really hard time maintaining those stats that he has. I think the Winnipeg Jets are a much tougher challenge for them than the Sharks or the Kings. So it should be interesting. I am picking the Winnipeg Jets to win this series in 7 games. It could possibly end sooner, but I think it could go 7 because I think Vegas is going to have a hard time. I think Winnipeg is going to have a hard time closing out Vegas. Now I know when Vegas won the first round, even though I predicted my original video way back when the playoffs started, I had predicted Vegas to lose. And I said I'd never bet against them again, but I have to go with the Jets. When I first did my bracket challenge, I picked the Jets to win the Western Conference. I haven't had everything right along the way. Obviously, it's not a perfect bracket by any means, but I did have the Stanley Cup Final predicted as Winnipeg, Washington. So far, those 2 teams are still alive, and I have a shot at predicting the correct Cup Final. So we'll see if I can get that right or not. But I think Winnipeg is going to overpower Vegas. I think the Vegas will give them a good go. Fleury will do all he can do. But I can see the Jets winning this series, likely in 7, possibly in 6 games. So those are my thoughts. Give your comments down below. Who do you think is going to win this series? Tell me how many games and give me your thoughts as to why you think that's going to happen. If you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams. There's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like the content as well. And don't forget as well to follow us on Twitter. You're going to see our Twitter handle on the screen right here. We love engaging in conversation with our fans on Twitter, so please check that account out if you're on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.